on the air right now. Here's your host, Michelle Meow.
Welcome back to Swirl, your A through Z, covering the LGBT, LMNOP, and everyone in between show. I'm Michelle Meow, your host. You can like us on Facebook, search Swirl Radio, or head to our website, swirlradio.com, and you'll find all of our content, including past shows here from the T-Radio V network. The new Pope has officially been inaugurated. Pope Francis has called same-sex marriage a destruction to God's plan. But back in 1998, a gay Italian man burned himself to protest the Vatican's anti-gay policies. Our next guest is Andy Abrahams Wilson, a filmmaker who became obsessed with this story and thus producing a documentary, Alfredo's Fire. Welcome, Andy.
Great to be here.
Thanks for if you could just push up really quick to the mics, we can hear you. You know, it's one of those things where we like you to get close. So, one January morning in 1998, Alfredo Armando set himself on fire in front of St. Peter's Basilica. How did you hear about this story?
Well, I lived in Italy for a while, years ago, and I have lots of Italian friends. And an Italian friend who was actually visiting me here in San Francisco told me about what happened. He said this gay guy set himself on fire at the Vatican and to protest the church's stand on homosexuality. And the church downplayed the event. They sort of buried what happened, and nothing really did happen. So I was just shocked. I was shocked that this happened. I was shocked that we haven't heard about it. And I was really shocked more than anything else that he chose this way, this form of protest, fire.
Yeah, so the Vatican did respond, but you said that it was more like shuffling it under the rug.
Yeah, they said their official statement was that that he did it because of family problems, that he had psychological problems, that it nowhere did they find any indication that it was a protest against the policies of the church. So that's where I began my research, and I spent years doing research. He was a writer from Sicily. I read his writings. I read his suicide note, and absolutely, it was very clearly a protest against the church. He actually said, I want to teach a lesson to the Catholic Church that demonizes homosexuality and at the same time all of nature, because homosexuality is her offspring.
So you said, you just said right there, you did years and years of research. If you can, maybe in a couple sentences, tell us who was Alfredo Armando. And I understand you said he was a writer, but did you find out any more? Did you talk to his family members, his friends?
I did. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
He was an aspiring writer. He was from a peasant family in the middle of Sicily, and he was the first person in his family to go to school. Like I said, he wanted to be a writer. He wanted to pull himself out of his position, his really what was defining him. But most of all, he wanted to be able to express himself, and it's very hard to be gay in that society and in many societies because of the family and because of the role of the church in his society. So it really was a downward spiral, which eventually took him to St. Peter's Square. But I think one of the last things that he did, which was sort of his last hope, was he believed if he could become a famous writer, then it wouldn't matter if he was gay, because there are artists and writers who are famous. It just doesn't matter. And so when he couldn't get published, that was sort of the last straw.
Well, this happened in 1998, or he passed away in 1998. I mean, it was 10 days after he burned himself in front of the church, and he was, I think, 39 years old. Is that right? So, you know, he wasn't old, and it was 1998, which means it wasn't the 50s. You know, we're nearing almost 2000. Would you say then that, you know, he had a lot of followers? He had people who understood what he was trying to do and what his message was?
Well, first of all, I want to say that self-immolation has been used historically as a potent form of protest. It was what started the Velvet Revolution in Czechoslovakia. It's what started the Arab Spring. And it was a big threat to the church to have this form of protest. Luckily for them, we didn't have the internet, and we didn't have the same kind of ability to disseminate information quickly around the world.
We didn't have Facebook.
We didn't
Twitter.
have Facebook, exactly. And the gay movement in Italy wasn't so formed as it is today. So there wasn't a fertile ground for this for the spark to take flame, and it did die without that fertile ground and without the means of dissemination. And so I'm hoping that our film actually does something to bring back his memory and to add fuel to the whole debate around sexuality and spirituality.
Absolutely, absolutely. You made a great statement, by the way, in an article published on the Huffington Post, in which you made a connection with fire. So he set himself on fire. What does fire have to do with the LGBT community, or what's the link there?
Well, for me, fire is everything, and that's really what attracted me to this in the first place. That fire it's both at the same time. He's lighting himself on fire. He's showing himself. It's a symbol of life itself, but it's also extinguishing. So in the same moment, he's coming out. He's expressing his pent-up passion and his rage, and he's also annihilating himself, canceling himself out. And those are all experiences that LGBT people have gone through. We've all felt like we didn't exist. Many gay people do end up taking their own lives.
Right.
And in the Middle Ages, homosexuals were burnt at the stake.
Right.
So it's a very potent symbol for LGBT people. It's both what oppressed us, what killed us, and it's also what gives us hope. So I found that really powerful.
Well, I know it is an amazing film, and you're still raising money to finish the documentary. In fact, I want to see if we actually have the website up, the Kickstarter campaign. So it's a Kickstarter campaign in which you're trying to raise some money to finish the film. Correct.
We have a fine cut, which means this last part is the most expensive process. We're trying to raise $50,000. We're a little over halfway there, and we've got a week left.
Oh, wow.
So we need all the help that we can get to get there.
Oh my, click now, donate now. It's going to be an amazing film. I think it's a great thing that you're doing to bring this into, media attention, especially with the inauguration of this new pope. And, we're not sure where or how that's going to affect the LGBTQ community. So we actually have to take a quick break. But when we come back, I'd love to talk about the new pope.
Great.
So that is Andy Abrahams Wilson, and like we were saying, you can donate to his Kickstarter campaign now. Search Alfredo's Fire. We will be right back with Andy after this break.